Yo guys, welcome back to another video. This is going to be a quick overview, kind of a guide of the starter decks 15 through 20 that are coming out soon in the West, October 25th, as you can see down there. It's just going to be a quick, comprehensive kind of overview. I'm not going over every single new card that's coming out in the starter decks, but I am going over what I consider to be the most important ones. So if you are thinking about getting these, if you're wondering what leaders, what decks they work best with, and kind of just want a quick refresher on some of the more important cards, this is going to be perfect for you hopefully, and it'll let you know like, okay, I need to for sure buy 2 of the starter decks of this one, or I need to at least buy the 4 singles of this card for this deck that I want to put it in, etc, etc. But yeah, hopefully it'll just be a little bit of a helpful guide for you guys, and that's it. So let's jump in and let's get started. Alright, so starting things off, if you want the too long didn't read version, if there's a card in these starter decks that you want, I would suggest either just, like I said, like buy 2 of them if you can for a very a cheap, reasonable price. Or if you think that I'm not the most knowledgeable of the Western market and everything, but there are some of these decks where, like the green Uta deck, if you know Shanks is the only one you want, you might keep an eye on what prices are and stuff to just see like if it's going to be cheaper to buy singles or not. But just the TLDR is, if these decks have the cards that you think you're going to be playing, you should just get them. If you're not sure, if you think like, oh, I might be interested in playing PLUFFY at some point in OP09 or OP10, just get them. I would suggest just getting them. But yeah, that's it. So let's just jump into the actual cards, talking about them and all that stuff. All right, so let's start off with starter deck 15. This is the Whitebeard, the Newgate deck, and here's all the cards and their ratios and everything. There are, I think there's 5 new cards, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think each starter deck got like 5 new additions, where I'm not going to be talking about all of them, but I am going to be talking about the ones that I consider to be like the most important, like the Newgate and the Ace. Here are the cards again, just a little bit better quality for you. And so in my opinion, right, like I was saying, it's the 7-cost Newgate and the 5-cost Ace that you're going to want to keep your eyes on if you're a red player, if you're a Newgate player, if you're a red Ace player. If you're excited to play Shanks, I would definitely look into getting 2 copies of the starter deck, or at least picking up 4 singles of each of these. And these cards are decent. Like the Thatch is a good Whitebeard Pirates 2K now. King 2 is an interesting blocker, and Amos is a good effect for the Newgate leader himself. But let's just jump in. So the 7-cost Newgate is a 7-cost AK. On play, give your leader or one of your characters up to 1 Rested Dawn, which is kind of like a theme within the starter decks. There's a lot of like Dawn attachment stuff going on, which is pretty cool. Activate main, you can rest this character, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 5,000 power or less. So this is really strong, really good comboing with like obviously minus power events and cards like the new Building Snake from OP09 that works well in the Shanks deck. It's just really strong. This card works great with Marco. Sorry, I forgot to mention him as a leader. Red Blue Marco really benefits from this card here. So we're talking 8.5 meta even before OP09. I think this 7-cost Newgate pairs with Marco's leader effect just tremendously. It's really strong. With Newgate, you can put the Dawn on your Marco leader that you need to use as effect, and you can minus 2k to something. So essentially with this Newgate, you're getting a free KO on a 7,000 power or less, which is really strong. Ace, this is an awesome card, especially if we're anticipating a very black heavy meta, which I know the West is in at the moment. So if you're thinking you're going to see a lot of Luccis or something, you can run this in your Marco deck. I think it works really well in Red Ace as well. So it's a 5-cost 6k power. It has a counter on it too, which is amazing. If your leader has Whitebeard Pirates included in his type, this character gets Rush. So only the Whitebeard Pirate types leaders gets the Rush, but then the effect, the once per turn effect, is for anything. So you can run it in any deck, any red deck you want. Once per turn, if this character would be removed from play by one of your opponent's effects, instead you may give this character minus 2k power for the turn. So that's like, you know, bounce or KO effects, which is really strong. So it's just a really sticky rush, another rusher that you can run, and it has counter. So a lot of people started running this over 7-cost Ace, or only running 7-cost Ace at 2 or 3, and then maybe this one at 3 or 4. Either way, really strong, and those are the two main cards for red that I would suggest looking out for. And if you are a Red Ace stan or Marco or Newgate or looking forward to playing Shanks, please keep an eye out for these and make sure you pick up a full playset. Alright, next we got Uta, Starter Deck 16. Not a lot of crazy cards that came out of this one. I'm not going to go over all of them, but the main ones here is just 9-cost Shanks, which is an amazing card. Right now this is being utilized in Bonnie as a very strong card in OP09. I think it has some merit in 8.5, but it's not good against Doflamingo, so it's kind of tricky. It's trickier to play in 8.5 in my opinion, but it is really good against things like Jack and Lucci, and in the OP09 meta where a lot of people play boss monsters and a lot of rush boss monsters like 9-cost Luffy, 10-cost Shanks, and Roger even. And of course, if Enel is still around, Rush Ace gets KO'd by this because those are all turning sideways when they play them. Then there's this blocker Uta and this Katakuri. The main two, in my opinion, are kind of the Shanks and this Uta, but the Uta is essentially just for the green Uta deck. But let's take a look here. Shanks is a 9-cost, 11k, which is huge. This is so important that it's an 11k, because if it was just a 10k, it would just be an easier target for stuff like Film Shanks and just easier to get rid of. Being an 11k is, I can't overstate how amazing that is. But it's on play, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters. Just plain and simple. This card is really strong, works great in Bonnie because you can play it out on your 9-Don turn and you're getting immediate value if they have a rested character that you'd like to KO. And the beautiful thing is just on your 10-Don turn, you play down the Shanks, you leave one up for leader effect, and you're essentially, you're getting rid of a character, then you're going to rest another character. It really just helps you kind of control the board, and against Lucci and stuff like that, if you're in a position where you can play this, if they have their rested Jack or something like that, you just play it, KO Jack, and it's a really good feeling. The Uta is a 4-cost 6k blocker. It's kind of similar to the Hancock blocker that Doflamingo got, but just a little bit different. It's a blocker. Once per turn, you may trash one film type card from your hand. Give your leader up to one of your characters up to one rested Dawn. Having to trash the film is kind of a little bit of a steep price here, but when you're playing green Uta, you have a lot of cards in hand, and you're gonna have like events or something, the counterless film cards that you don't really need towards the end of the match, or just when your hand, you just have cards that you don't mind getting rid of. It's kind of nice. It's a good blocker. 4-cost 6k is a really good stat line for a blocker, and you just get the rested Dawn. But yeah, outside of green Uta, I don't really think this is gonna get like an immediate slot into any decks, but will be interesting in the future for some kind of like green film decks. But that's it for green, so let's jump into the next one. All right, we got Doffy, the big bad Doffy. Started at 17. So Doffy got just like a ton of buffs. Like every single one of the new cards is a card that you can run in the deck, which is like Bandai. It's not too. They were really close to overdoing it with Doffy. I'm not gonna lie. But here are the cards. In my opinion, the 4-cost Hancock is the real star of the show. This paired with Jinbei, and in my opinion, the 3 strongest cards in the 8.5 and OP9 Doffy decks are 4-cost Hancock, Jinbei, and the Moria that gets stuff back from trash. I just think with those 3 cards, you have like almost infinite resources and infinite like utilities that you can do with your leader. And just as I said, a 4-cost 6k blocker is just really strong. This is the bounce law, where you bounce something back to your hand and you can bounce a 4-cost or less to your opponent. Teach, Crocodile, and Buggy. We'll go over some of the effects here. This is Boa. Blocker, on play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, then place them in any order on the top or bottom of your deck, which is already a really good effect for Doflamingo, like to pair with his leader effect. But on top of that, they did then give up to one of your 7 Warlords of the Sea type leader characters up to 1 rested Dawn, which is just like kind of nutty, because then it's just leader effect costs 1 less Dawn. You just played a blocker and you looked at top 3, now you're setting up your leader effect to be whatever the most powerful card you can get off of that. So yeah, really strong. It's a good card. Next is the law that I was talking about. So it's 4 costs 5k. This one's only a 1k counter, not to be confused with the 2k counter one. That's the if you have 6 or more, your opponent has to bottom deck a card from their hand. This is on play. You may return one of your characters to its owner's hand. If your leader has the 7 Warlords type, return up to 1 cost 4 or lower character to its owner's hand. And you may think that like, it's only 4, that's not that crazy, but it's really, really strong. This is powerful in the mirror. There are a lot of like chump blockers being played in OP9. There's a lot of 4-cost blockers that are being played in OP9, and it really just helps, you know, helps just give that little bit of advantage to make your opponent lose some tempo. And the real strength here is you're bouncing back your Peronas, you're bouncing back your Sengokus, you can bounce this character itself. So like if you have to go for lethal and your opponent has a 4-cost or less blocker on the board, you can literally just play this down, bounce it back. They have to bounce their blocker back to their hand, and yes, it costs 4 Dawn, but if you already have a bunch of characters on the board, you know, sometimes that's all you need. So really, really, really strong. Next we got Marshall D. Teach. This card saw a lot of play when the starter decks got released. Then it kind of fell off a little bit because I do think it's only a 2-cost. It's a little bit more easily KO'd by Lucci and other black decks. But recently in OP9, just because if you go first and you play this Teach as Doffy, and like there is no like if you high roll kind of thing, it's kind of like you're setting up your own high roll. Literally the only downside is you do start to lose hand advantage, but like I said, with stuff like the Moria that gets it out of trash, or if you're running the Crocodile that lets you draw when you show a 4-cost or less 7 Warlords of the Sea type card, there's lots of ways to get around it. So at the end of the day, being able to just get the free 2 Dawn and place a card onto the top of your deck, I think is so strong. And you're just building a board to where your opponent's going to be swinging into you so much that most of the time it doesn't matter that you're losing a few resources out of your hand, because it's all going onto your board or getting you other effects that are helping you win. But the effect is activate main once per turn, place 1 card from your hand at the top of your deck. Then attach up to 2 Rested Dawn to one of your leader or characters. And obviously this is like, it's a 2-cost 3k, so the 2 Dawn you use for it, you get to put it onto your leader or characters, which is just really strong. Yeah, this card, you just play it early. You go first on your 3 Dawn turn. You play this, you put Jinbei onto the top of your deck, whatever, you put whatever onto the top of your deck, put 2 Dawn on your leader, boom, swing 7, tap 1 for leader effect, and the rest is history. So yeah, another great addition. This is a card that I think is a little bit meta dependent. A lot of people still prefer Perona or just Sengoku and Buggy and stuff like that, but if this is like if you're more into the aggro, just aggression style for Doflamingo, it's a really, really good card. So yeah, that's it for the Doflamingo cards. Obviously there's a lot of people who are going to be wanting to play Doffy when 8.5 drops, so I would just say, you know, you need 4 Hancocks, you need 4 Laws, you're already getting 4 Teach, and 4 Buggies helps just to have, because he's not always run at 4, but you just kind of need it. It's the Law, Boa, and Buggy, you're going to need 4. If there's one starter deck that you get 2 of, or that you get a full playset of, it's just this one. If you want to play like whatever the top meta deck is going to be. It'll be interesting to see what kind of comes out on top for the 8.5 meta in the West, because for us over here in Japan, we still had Law and NES Lobby for 8.5. Up until OP09, Law was still a thing. NES Lobby still existed. So Doffy was doing really well. He was just immediately started topping events, like making it to like the top 16 and then top 4, I think, as well. But I'll be really interested to see how quickly and how powerful he is immediately in the West with NES Lobby banned and RP Law gone. But yeah, I think it goes without saying, just get a playset of these for sure. But yeah, that's it for Blue Doffy. Let's move on to the next one. All right, next we got PLUFFY, Purple Luffy, started at 18. Quite a few good cards here, I'm not gonna lie. Similar to Doffy, PLUFFY and Purple in general, like the Purple Straw Hat engine in general, got a ton of buffs here in the starter deck. So let's take a look here. Another set of 5 that are just really good here. It was almost hard to choose which ones I think are more important. Like low-key, Onami is one of the best cards out of this starter deck, and low-key, Usohachi is one of the best cards. Onami is a blocker, and on play, if you have 8 or more Dawn, you trash a card, draw 2. And at first glance, you might think like, oh, it's a 4 cost, and it's only 2k, like that kind of sucks, but nah, it's queen. It's queen, and if you have 8 or more Dawn, but you're ramping with PLUFFY, and you're ramping with Purple X Luffy's, right? So you get there way faster than you might think, and it's just so powerful, and getting the cycle is just really strong. Sangoro is on attack once per turn. If you have 8 or more Dawn, you get to draw 1 card, which is kind of insane, and you can play all of these off of Luffy Taro, by the way. Usohachi is a nice 2k, and then if you have 8 or more Dawn, you can rest a 5 cost or less of your opponent. So it's like Izo on steroids, because it's not hard to get to 8 Dawn with the PLUFFY deck. But okay, let's look at the actual main stars of the show here. This is Luffy Taro, one of the best cards to come out of all of these starter decks. It's a 7 cost AK. And on play, Dawn -1, play up to 1 purple Straw Hat Crew type character card with a cost of 5 or less from your hand. So your targets are obviously, you can play any of these if you want. The main targets are going to be Zorojuro, Onami, and Sangoro. Mostly Zorojuro and Sangoro, but you know, in a pinch, you can play Onami out, you can play out a blocker. Just, there's a lot of combos that you can do that are really, really strong. The nice thing here too is it's a 7 cost, so what you see right now a lot in OP09 and what you're going to see in 8.5 is PLUFFY taking first, going up to 3, second, turn 2, going up to 3, ramping with leader effect, going to 4, going to 6 the next turn, and then ramping again to 8, playing Luffy Taro, going down back to 7, and playing out the character, and then on the next turn you're at 9, which, wouldn't you know it, there's a nice juicy 9 cost purple Luffy that comes out in OP09 that's going to be really strong. Like, the purple curve just got even stronger with this, and if you're a fan of PLUFFY and you've always wanted like the proper like Straw Hat engine, this is gonna be the starter deck for you. So next we can look at Zorojuro, and he's a really good. I put Usohachi in here too just because I felt like he deserved a shout out because this card is just insane. This is a 4 cost 6k, no counter. On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 purple Straw Hat Crew type card, and put it into your hand, then bottom deck the rest in any order. This card's really good, because if you know you're going first, you turn 2, go to 3, use leader effect, go to 4, you play this bad boy, and you just get like a free draw from it, right? And in OP09, he's doesn't really matter that he's counterless because you can just trash him when you're playing the Gum Gum Giant event. That's not coming out until OP09, but just something to kind of like keep in mind, and what makes him even more powerful in OP09. I think the ramp that I'm putting Luffy Taro and Zorojuro as the most important ones because these are the cards you absolutely want to see on that ramp, on that curve, and yeah, it's just really strong. So again, for the purple one, you're only getting 2 Usohachi and 2 Zorojuro and 2 Luffy Taro. So if you should definitely get a playset of all of those. I really recommend it. I don't think you can just get away with just 2 of any of them, honestly. Kind of a shame they gave us 2 Usohachi, but I mean, if you're gonna need to buy more for the other ones, some of these, it's just like Banda was like, yeah, let's just make it so they have to just buy the starter deck twice. Unfortunately, it's not like the green one where you can kind of just get away with like, I only need Shanks, so I'm just gonna buy 4 singles. I would recommend getting just a full playset of all of these, and if the easiest way to do it is just to buy 2 starter decks, then that is what I'm going to recommend. So that's it for PLUFFY. Let's jump into the next one. All right, next we have Smoker, starter deck 19. And I don't have as much experience with Smoker in general and these cards, but I have used them in other decks like Icho, actually, surprisingly. This Hina is really good in a lot of decks. So yeah, you can see we have quite a few new cards, but there are 2 main ones that I think are really important, and a third one that's just kind of nice to help you filter. This Sengoku is on play. You can trash 2 black navy cards from your hand and then draw 3 cards. So really nice early game, just setting up your trash, and it's trash 2, draw 3, so it's a +1, and you're setting up your trash, which is like pretty much a +2 if you're playing a black deck, right? This Tashigi and this Hina are really good, so let's go over them. Tashigi is a 5 cost 6k with counter. On play, if your leader is Smoker, so just Smoker, give up to one of your opponent's characters -4 cost for the turn, and then activate main once per turn. If it is the turn this character was played, place up to one of your opponent's cost 0 characters into its owner's trash. So this is a place in trash effect, and this is just kind of one of those, it's like 9 cost Kaido, where it gets around like the on play effects kind of thing, but it's you have to do it on the turn that it was played. So there's like a slight weakness there, I guess, that it's just like a one and done kind of thing, but it's really strong. And the stat lines are good. It even has counter. I think because it's literally just locked to Smoker, they could give it the counter there and feel like it wouldn't be too overpowered. I really like the art on this one too. So yeah, just a good card. If you're a smoker fan, you need to get 4 of these. All right, Hina. This is a really good card. This is the 4-cost 6k of the starter deck, I guess you could say. So Dawn 1, during your opponent's turn, this character has +4 cost, so similar to Jack, but you need a Dawn on it, which is kind of like, okay. Just makes Jack look even more broken. Activate main. Once per turn, you may place 1 card from your trash to the bottom of your deck. Give your leader or up to one of your characters up to 1 rested Dawn. So this was another interesting way to kind of go about the placing a rested Dawn on one of your leader characters. It's like the theme of these starter decks, and it's not too bad. I mean, mid-late game, I think you can afford putting one of your cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck. You're not Lucci, so I don't think you're cycling as much with like the 4-cost Luccis and the Spandines and having to bottom deck as many cards. So just you'll see that this card is just really useful in general, and I really like this card. I played this in a Isho deck that I was running with some friends, and she was kind of like a low-key MVP. So yeah, I would recommend getting the Hina and the Tashigi for sure if you're a smoker fan. Some of the other cards are pretty decent. Like the smoker feels like it kind of have potential, especially if you want to beat blue Doffy, because it helps stunning your opponents, 2 of your opponents, like 4 costs or less. This Garp is okay. The Sengoku I think has a lot of utility, but of course these are the 2 main cards. I would say this is one of the ones where I'm like, I don't know if you need this deck. I bought one of all of them. Smoker is one of the ones that I have not bought a second one for, just because I don't really play a lot of black, and it was nice to get 4 more copies of Tsuru and brand new, so that's kind of cool, and this Kobe. But yeah, if you're not a smoker fan, if you're not a big black player, I would say this is one that you can skip. But let's move on to the last one. Alright, last but not least, we got Katakuri, starter deck 20. There are a few cards in here. One card, this Big Mom, this Lin that I had a lot of hope for and ended up not being quite as powerful as people were hoping. But let's go over it here. The main 3 cards that I think came out of this deck are this 6-cost Lin, this 5-cost Katakuri blocker, and this 3-cost Brule. The Brule is just another 2k essentially, which is kind of helpful, and it has a trigger where you can look at the top life of your or your opponent's life, place it on the top or bottom, and then take this card to hand. So really interesting. It's a very well balanced card in my opinion, which is why I wanted to kind of showcase it. Very interesting thing for yellow, where it's like not unfair, not unbalanced. It's just a 2k. You don't get to play it or anything, and you have to like show your opponent that essentially that this is what you're getting in order to use its effect. So I thought that was kind of a good way to like balance a yellow card like that. So this is the 6-cost Lin. It's a 6-cost 7k. On play, you may trash 1 card from your hand. Your opponent chooses one of the following. Either your opponent discards 2 cards from their hand, or they trash the top card of their life. So it's kind of like a mix between 7-cost Lin and 10-cost Lin, but in like a little mini-me version. The thing that really just hurts here is you have to trash a card. I was excited for this card to try out in Yamato, because I think it would have been pretty strong in the OPO 8 meta, to be honest. But with 8.5, with blue Doffy just being such a menace, it's hard to give up even more resources. Like if you're playing Yamato, yellow-green Yamato against Doffy, you kind of have to, you're gonna have to counter out a lot of their swings. You know, you're not playing a ton of blockers. They're gonna be like aggressing you down pretty heavily from the start. You don't find yourself in a position where you can really afford to trash the card from your hand. And then a lot of the times you kind of just want to be maybe doing other plays, or just trying to, you kind of want to go first anyways, and maybe that'd be your 7 Dawn turn, and you want to play Hody, or you know, you're just trying to set up your Holy or something like that. But it's still a powerful card, and I think there will be certain metas where this card comes back in. People were running it in Katakuri as well, but it was very like you can run it if you want to kind of card. It didn't become like an immediate staple or anything. This Katakuri I really like. I actually was using it in my mono yellow Yamato deck, just to get the extra Dawn. But let's go over it. It's a 5-cost 6k plus 1k counter blocker, which is really awesome. Yellow doesn't have a lot of blockers, especially not ones like this, so it's kind of nice. So it's activate main once per turn. You may turn the top card of your life face up, and then give your leader or character up to 1 rested Dawn. So similar to the Brule, just like a very fair effect. You're gonna have to show them what your life is gonna be, and you get to put a Dawn on, a rested Dawn on something. And while it is very powerful in my opinion, I think just the fact that like if you don't take that life, you can't reuse the effect the next time. Like obviously it has to be face down. So it is kind of weird. I do think it kind of could work in pudding. I haven't seen people cook with it as much in pudding, or honestly even like katakuri or just mono yellow big mom. So this is one of those ones where it's like it seems strong. I know there's some strong use cases, but it just hasn't found like the home that it needs. But I know some people were running it in katakuri, and it's a good blocker, and it's a 6K, so you can swing with it, you know. Nothing too crazy though. So yeah, I would say if you are a yellow player, I don't know if you need 4 of these, but like this is kind of like Smoker, where it's like there's no great immediate use cases that I can give you examples for to be like you should definitely go buy a playset of both of these. But they're both strong cards and could see play in the future. If you're a Katakuri player, if you like yellow, if you like big mom pirates, if you like even just like Yamato, could potentially use stuff like this in the future. Or if you need like a playset of like the puddings and the smoothies and the thunderbolts and all that jazz, this is one of those ones where I'm not 100% sure, but it's pretty good and you might want to check it out. But that's it for the last leader. Alright guys, so that's it. I hope it was helpful. I try to keep it as short as possible, but also while still being informative and helpful. But let me know, which starter deck are you most excited for? Which leader are you most excited to play? I was most excited for the Katakuri deck to try out the yellow cards in my Yamato deck, but I unfortunately don't really play a ton of the other ones. But if I could let you know now, like the actual card that ended up being the best and I'm the most thankful for is 9-cost Shanks, because I've been playing a lot of Bonnie recently and Shanks is just amazing. And I think it's a great addition to green. Kind of one of the ones that people were like, oh, that looks powerful, but I don't know how powerful he'll be. And now we're seeing how powerful he actually is. So yeah, I'm really stoked we got that for green. If you're a green player like myself, rejoice, because 9-cost Shanks definitely gives us a little bit more of a fighting chance against certain metas and certain decks. But yeah, let me know what you're looking forward to playing. And just as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.